wesn.
Well, a warm good morning to you, Trinidad and Tobago, and a warm morning it is indeed. The sun is shining bright and the day seems to be beautiful. Although, usually I try not to be the depressing one when we start the show on the program. I don't think I have much of a choice this morning, considering if you were to listen to the news via the radio station, via whatever media outlet, if you read the newspapers, you will see that it has been a bloody 24 hours here in Trinidad and Tobago. 5 murders recorded between Wednesday night and yesterday. 4 people were shot in one incident last night. Their conditions are not known. I believe it's 2 women and 2 men. Up until this point, we're not entirely sure. We know that they were rushed to the hospital. And just a lot more killings. There's one police killing last night that took place in Sealot. Again, that story we will bring to you when we get more information. Of course, residents are stating one thing and the police are stating that they were shot at whilst at patrol within the area. So, Trinidad and Tobago, this is just a drop, I suppose, of everyday life. And unfortunately, as I said, I don't like to be depressing, but that is the reality, and those are the times that we're living in. Anyway, folks, let me introduce my co-host and colleague alongside me this morning, Mr. Sean Michael Small. Good morning, Sean.
Morning, Keaton. Yeah, it's actually somewhat unfortunate. As much as you are alarmed at the string of killings in just one day, there's a part of me that is somewhat, I don't know if accustomed is the right word. It's not really shocking to me anymore. The situation that we're in, just averaging all the numbers, we haven't gotten figures. The TTPS has a pretty good job of releasing statistical data for this year, except we don't have figures for September, obviously not for October. October isn't over yet. Just averaging it out, we are on pace to have 579 murders, probably at the minimum, because there's a part of me that does not expect these next couple of months to be on the low end, the way how things are going. But yes, I feel kind of numb to it all. We might be facing 600 murders, which that will be one hell of a mark to reach. And I guess the question is not so much how are we feeling because of the murders, but what we as a society are willing to do about it. So are we willing to truly hold elected officials into account, or are we going to let it just be more ammunition, more cannon fodder for the bubble, for the back and forth, where accusations are flung by either side back and forth as though it's a tennis match, a ping pong match, and we don't actually get anything done about it. Because at the end of the day, crime was not a problem all of a sudden. It didn't just sneak up on us. It's been a problem for years. And we haven't really seen anything particularly new, particularly innovative, and definitely not effective to deal with it.
Well, I'm putting aside politics for one moment because I will get into that very shortly. There's a UN report on security issues in Trinidad and Tobago, and I can't wait to actually discuss that with you. It's not entirely surprising, but I do wonder how certain ministers, such as the Minister of National Security or the Minister of CARICOM and Foreign Affairs, will respond to this. Even to the Prime Minister, how would he respond to this? But before I touch on that, you mentioned what a society such as ours, what are we willing to do in reaction or response to this situation? And you're right to a certain extent, I suppose people become numb to it. But it's still rather amazing. You know, I'm listening to the news this morning on my way into work on radio, and the first headline spoke about the Law Association of Trinidad and Tobago. And I've refrained from commenting on that because, quite frankly, I'm not entirely sure what's the point of the LATT anymore.
Yeah.
But
if they're going to take so long to comment on something that's more or less been in the public sphere for 2 weeks, I'm not sure they have server papers either.
But you also realize that they've actually only decided to meet after facing some pressure from individuals within the political arena. You know, and usually as an independent body, you don't even succumb to such pressures. But it seems as though, again, that's a body that is reactive to the situation.
But Keaton, when they had the public health regulations, wasn't the Law Association relatively speedy in its response? And I don't think anybody outside of government lawyers, that is to say, lawyers who were MPs at the time trying to support the Prime Minister's assertion that they will go inside private residences to break up parties. I don't think anybody supported that position, and I believe the general consensus within the national community of lawyers was that the association stance was correct. Karen also agreed with them. So I don't know why they're acting scared about this, as well as I can't remember what the last matter was.
This is precisely, so when you have the head of the Criminal Bar Association, who one can argue has political aspirations and has been very much vocal about it, basically criticizing the Law Association of Trinidad and Tobago, and then the Law Association deciding to meet a couple of weeks after they faced criticism from within the public arena, as well as the Criminal Bar Association of Trinidad and Tobago. These are bodies that you would hope would be a lot more proactive in the sense that don't wait, you know, don't delay.
It was the Amor situation with his affidavit
that was
the PR case.
That was another situation, just as an example.
The thing about it is, yes, your question is absolutely correct. What is the point of having a law association? Like, what is their purpose if they are not willing to speak on matters about the AG potentially perjuring himself in a foreign court over a national case? This is not just some minor, oh, well, he has a dispute about a dog or the land boundary of his house, right? About a case of national importance. But also now, with the current situation, right, with this indemnity deal, you're not, because we're talking about potentially, right, the government acting in a bad way that affects the laws of the country, how the legal profession is viewed in the country, how the legal profession is able to carry out its job and function in the country, and you don't have an opinion of it, well, then what's the point of having an association? What are you? You're just a pseudo-union to do
well,
what?
That's precisely my opinion of it. I believe the LATT has become a union for lawyers. At least, in my opinion, that is what it seems to be. And whether or not it serves its purpose, so that's a whole other.
Okay, two of your members were thrown off under the bus by the former AG. You're going to do nothing about that? Because he's basically saying the blame is with them, the blame is not with me.
Okay, but in that instance, what would you expect the LATT to do? I mean, if the Attorney General, Faris Sarawi, has thrown those individuals under the bus, and also questions were raised about Keith Scotland's relationship with Vincent Nelson, because there was a email address, a screenshot of an email that was circulating, and quite frankly, I verified that email address as being Keith Scotland's. But then again, anybody could put something together. Hold on. The mere fact is, if the Attorney General decides to do it, I'm not entirely sure if that is a position for the LATT to actually deliberate upon, the Executive Council. The reason being is because that's a political move by the Attorney General. And the Minister of Energy and Energy Industries also, who is a former Minister of National Security, spoke and said he did everything that was within order. But the LATT is due to make a statement later today after the Executive met last evening. And I am awaiting anxiously to hear what the deliberations or what that meeting actually led to by the Executive Council.
So let me use your first story as an example for this situation. The shooting in Sealots, right? Mm-hmm. The police say they were fired upon. The community says, no, the police fired first, right? Sealots has a stereotype, has a stigma. The young men in that community have a stereotype and a stigma. The police, to some extent, have a stereotype and a stigma. Who do we believe? Because I think for the most part, if we're really truthful, we don't have a good, it's not as though there's one side that we would automatically give the benefit of the doubt to and believe over the other, I think at this point. I think at this point, we would easily believe that either side could be in the wrong, right? The trust with regards to these scenarios is not there for either side, right? The perception that the country has with regards to extrajudicial killings, but also with regards as to the level of violence from gang members and communities that are hotspots, right? We don't know what is the truth in that scenario because their conduct has created this perception of both sides. The law association, right? Lawyers in this country rather, have to speak out against conduct that is detrimental to the integrity of their profession, lest they become now another subgroup of our society where we look at them and we assume the worst one time. We just assume the worst. Because what are some of the examples we have of the legal profession? Well, a lot of them are in politics. Those are the most public ones. And they're the ones who write the laws. And between Section 34, the public health regulations, and a whole host of other things that the former AG has put his foot in his mouth, and now the current AG is potentially following in his footsteps, saying, oh, we're going to continue this criminal case, when the whole situation of why it was discontinued is nowhere near being resolved. And do you have any other evidence to continue this case if you did the DPP would not have discontinued the case in the first place? These things are, the judiciary, the criminal justice system is moving at a snail's pace. The law fraternity or the community of lawyers are part of that as well. So as a law association, they should be coming out and speaking against conduct that is detrimental to the integrity of their profession.
Sean, I hear you, and you're not entirely wrong, but at the same time, flip that around. First of all, you mentioned the police service. I am no longer in a position to assume, let me say no longer in a position to assume. I no longer assume that the TTPS is wrong in their conduct.
Right.
I have seen how society has reacted towards the TTPS. Mind you, I've had very bad experiences with the Trans-Tobago Police Service as well, one of which I made public on Monday. And we had the media ambassador having to apologize for that. That's just one example. But I'm not going to assume that of the entire TTPS. I've seen how society reacts. And quite frankly, many a times, I'm just wondering exactly whether or not there's any truth to what society is stating, especially when we see their reaction and the behavior towards the TTPS. That's one part. With respect to the Law Association, yes, the Law Association should, ideally, they should come out. And they should condemn any sort of behavior, any sort of language, any activity which actually puts a dent in the integrity of the profession as well as the association. But we're talking about criminal lawyers in Trinidad and Tobago as part of the CBATT. And then you're also talking about the LETT, which covers lawyers of varying degrees and various specialties. Who it benefits? Who does it benefit at the end of the day? So ideally, yes, let's come out and condemn it. Let's speak about it. Let's put people in their place. Excellent. At the end of the day, regardless of where we stand and where we sit and what we view, it will always be beneficial to these associations and to attorneys if the system remains this way. If you have a criminal on trial for 30 plus years or 15 plus years, or however you'd like to look at it here in TNT, whatever the case may be, who is benefiting the most? If that individual cannot afford their own lawyer, they are entitled to one that will be provided to them by the state, right? You have legal aid as well. All these things, bear in mind, if you have matters ongoing for years and you have attorneys on retainer fees, etc., 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 who does it benefit?
Who does it benefit? Right, so I understand there's a financial incentive, but going back to the TTPS, it's not that the entire TTPS is bad. It's not that the country has to think they're bad. But the problem is, we, for all intents and purposes, we know or we think that there are bad apples in the TTPS. At the end of the day, right, the media ambassador has acknowledged all of the examples of either that it exists or the possibility exists. He has not disputed that these things don't happen when we put up examples of bad conduct by police officers towards him. So that is an indirect acknowledgement that yes, there are going to be bad apples in the bunch. You don't need the whole barrel, the whole bunch to be bad. You just need a few to be bad for the perception of the whole bunch to be ruined. Same thing with the Law Association. We're not saying that the whole system is going to be collapsing. But to the country, when you have high-profile individuals acting in a certain manner. The point of the association, I believe, should be, again, to the benefit of its members. This is technically, all right, if there's a financial benefit of them acting in bad faith, then fine. I'll take that.
Yeah, but
the association itself, to me, if you want to just leave the status quo, you don't need an association.
It's not an unfair criticism, but it's unfair in the sense that this is not something that should apply only to the LATT.
Oh, no,
right?
no. Yeah,
this is something that should apply all around. For example, Gerald Ramdeen and Anna Logan were not proven guilty. Their case was before the courts. They were allowed to continue practicing.
Yeah.
All right. David Lee right now is out on bail. He's allowed to remain as a member of parliament. Marlene McDonald, for example, was in, how many times was she fired and then rehired? And then where is she now? And I keep making the argument that one charge that you drop against her, misbehavior in public office, you'll see how those other 3 charges against her will soon drop. You know, so all of these things going around and around, the Attorney General, nobody has faced accountability.
No.
And in fact, we'll get into that in a bit. Nobody has faced any level of accountability for their actions. And quite frankly, that goes to show that society is in a decay. Society is in a state of decay. Everybody's frustrated. But at the same time, the system itself allows for this to happen. If anybody in Tobago can get away for the things that they say or they do, especially those in higher office and higher authority, it gives people a perception on the ground, and that perception leads to them thinking that they have power. And that goes into what the professor has stated multiple times on this program. There is a lack of law and order in Trinidad and Tobago. Folks, we have to take a quick break here on the program. And when we return, well, boy oh boy, there's a lot more to get into. We'll be right back after this.
Delivered nationwide. Kiss Enriched Bread.
Fill your day with love.
The issue, the continued rise in the price of flour and its impact on the cost of living in Trinidad and Tobago. How should we go about it? I want to ask you, what has been revealed to you about the state of vulnerability in the country because of this exercise and because of what we're going through? Is the government losing the war on the vaccine front?
The discussion should revolve around the common good for the greatest number of people in Trinidad and Tobago.
How do we inculcate a sense of respect and regard for people who may not be of your own political ilk or persuasion?
The communities are now being used by political opportunists. So
when the tables are turned, it's the same way. Okay, this has been 10 questions. I'm Andy Johnson, and we'll see you next time.
It's Diwali time again. Come to Prem Singh's Puja Bhavan for all your Diwali essentials. Get your clay diyas, cotton wicks, floating wicks, beautifully decorated imported diyas, and now in stock, our long-lasting, easy-lighting wax diyas. Fasting? We have frozen vegetarian meals, exciting Indian spices and grocery items, decorated mithai boxes, prasad bags, freshly ground elaichi powder, and a paper sohari leaves. And don't forget our popular, tasty, mouth-watering mithai. We have simple Diwali Puja guides on CD with a Puja handout, and our helpful staff will assist you. you with all the required ingredients to perform your Diwali puja. Get great deals on lantern decorations, electric diya string lights, and Happy Diwali decorations. Visit us at the corner of Watt Street, Kirep, or at St. Ives Street, Chaguanas, opposite the Charleville taxi stand, or call 663-6084. Prem Singh's Puja Bhavan. It's a family tradition, serving the nation and Dharma. Lakshmi Mata's divine blessings to all. For your convenience, both branches are open on Sundays until Diwali.
Welcome back to the program. Now, if you get the opportunity, ladies and gentlemen, you can go to the daily newspaper, one of the daily newspapers, which has an article on a United Nations report on security issues here in Trinidad and Tobago, and I encourage you to read it. Now, I would even go as far as to encourage you to see if you can access the entire report on security issues by the United Nations in Trinidad and Tobago, because this article obviously is just a summary, but if you get the opportunity to read the entire report, well, that's good, because I don't have it on me as we speak. But with the very brief information that we have, are you okay there, my friend?
Yeah, I'm okay.
All right. Let's continue where we left off in that last segment, because we spoke about the LATT. Now let's speak about this UN security report. It said, and this is very interesting, probably not entirely surprising, but it says, a United Nations General Security Situation report on Trinidad and Tobago claims that some community leaders of course in quotation marks, are striving towards political power as a way of infiltrating legitimate state structures. This report, which was released on Wednesday, said the structures are highly violent as they are mafia-styled, adding that some of their leaders double up as community leaders. It further states that the government continues to face numerous challenges in the effort to reduce crime. Assets are not directly targeted by criminality, nor is there evidence to suggest that they will be. But, and this is the statistic that's very interesting, it disclosed that there are between 95 to 102 criminal networks in Trinidad and Tobago, with a total number of between 1,200 and 1,300 individuals. It's amazing how, according to this UN report, 12 to 1,300 individuals can actually hold roughly 3.5 or 3 million citizens of Trinidad and Tobago at ransom, essentially on a daily basis.
No, but I think more importantly, between 95 and 102 criminal networks in TNT. Now, granted, what is the parameters of that? Are they including small-time criminal networks or robbery ring, what have you? Are they including international networks with regards to the drug smuggling and human trafficking situation? So we might have multiple international criminal networks intersecting in TNT. Regardless, even if we take into account that they're counting the small fry and they're counting the outside big fish, that's still a massive number to me. We're not that big of a country, right? We're just not that big of a country.
Well, actually, you see that you're not big of a country. I don't know where I got my information from, quite frankly, at the top of my head. I was completely off. We actually have a population of 1.3 million, according to 2020.
I think the estimates we were using and the government was using with regards to COVID and their targets for vaccinations were 1.399 billion.
Yeah.
So now the thing is, though, my question is exactly what is the reason for the claim of this UN General Security report? What I mean to say is, just who are these community leaders, right, that they have identified that are trying to infiltrate legitimate government? And to me, I could think of 3 examples off the top of my head, of which naming names, I don't necessarily want to, slander anybody, but they are, of course, those who are connected to politicians. There was one famous case of an uninvited guest. There are those who...
You mean the uninvited guest that showed up in every single photo?
Yep, there are those who are the son of a notorious individual who has been involved in politics and was the mastermind behind one of the more infamous acts of our history back in 91. And then there is potentially the fact that legitimate business and illegal money might be intermixed, and campaign financing might, of course, be dipping into both legal and illegal funds. So I'm wondering exactly what is the situation that they've identified, because some of those examples are very minor and a bit tongue-in-cheek and not that important. But some of them, or at least one of them, I think is an ongoing concern with regards to campaign financing and who political parties are beholden to.
I think generally here in Trinidad and Tobago, when we speak about community leaders, who do we think of? Right. So you're right. So you're right. We referencing the report. They're stating community leaders are trying to.
But I'm wondering if they're also thinking about the big drug lords in the country, not just the little guy on the street.
No. Fine, fair enough. But remember, the little guy on the street is the one that really rallies the troops. Right.
Well, the violence.
So that is the more prominent figure. You have the bigger fish, as they say, the head of the snake, who is not so much in the spotlight, but you have the individual on the ground who's rallying the troops, put it that way. And multiple names have been called throughout the years. Multiple names within East Port of Spain, within CDOT, within Beetham, within various parts of central Trinidad, within various parts of eastern Trinidad. Names have been called. These legitimate community leaders, let's take a look at an example. I wouldn't say it's an infiltration of basically legitimate political structures, but they have actually been, in a sense, financed by legitimate political structures. The most common example is, for example, through the Housing Development Corporation, right? And if you take a look, there's one documentary. If you say, well, Keaton, you're talking nonsense. There's one documentary that Vice News did a couple of years ago, in which they spoke to a prominent community leader.
Yep.
And he said, well, listen, I get my contracts from the government. You know, I build houses. I'm trying to make legitimate money. And again, fine, nothing is wrong with that. But the point that you just made, where legitimate money is then washed with money that is acquired through illegal means. That is something here in Trinidad and Tobago that nobody is ignorant of. Nobody could play dumb and tell me that is not the case.
There is a concern that way too much of our legitimate economy is propped up by illegal money, and we're not entirely sure what will happen if we actually got rid of all illegal money.
But this is the thing. I think you and I have debated this off air. This is in our opinion, Sean's and our opinion, that if you were to actually, and I think a caller earlier this week actually tried to speak of that as well through using marijuana as an example.
Yeah.
At this point in time, one of the things that I think we can make easily the assumption of is that you haven't gotten rid of drugs and ammunition and gang warfare in Trinidad and Tobago. You haven't actually put up a fight against it, right? We actually have not put up a fight against it. We've just allowed it to just simmer. We've allowed it to get to this extent. Again, I'd love to know what is the reaction of the Minister of National Security to this report, the Minister of CARICOM and Foreign Affairs, the Prime Minister, because the Minister of National Security said last week in relation to reports of terrorism in Trinidad and Tobago and the reports by the United States State Department, the warning issued for Trinidad and Tobago. He said, well, I was rather quite surprised. I mean, we haven't had any big bombings in TNT. I mean, somebody lost their leg, but that was to the extent of it. And I was just like, this man is...
Can I just say
of course,
something?
Please, go ahead. Yeah.
Every time a minister says they're surprised, I don't know if the public will agree with me, but generally speaking, to me, it sounds as though that minister is incompetent. Because first of all, why are you speaking on a matter that you're not properly briefed on? If we want to take what your words at face value, I am surprised, right? And then the other thing is, there are a lot of situations, I have heard this term used, I am surprised that this situation is so bad. Situations that people that are Joe public are aware of, surprises government ministers at times. And if Joe Public is better briefed on certain situations of national importance than government ministers, then why do we have these ministers who is not doing their job? So I don't want to hear from a minister, oh, I am surprised at this. Why are you surprised? It's your job to know these things. You're supposed to know these things before we know these things.
What is interesting is that I am of also the opinion, okay, so I was making the example that if you were to clean up that situation in Trinidad and Tobago, you know, our economy, which is probably propped up by it, part of it will collapse. You know, we don't have all the information, but that's just an opinion. But you see, at the same time, you're making that statement, and I agree with you. But the ironic situation is that that same Minister of National Security, or ministers, for example, would rely on these reports for information. And there's no problem. Hold on.
Reports,
hold on. Yeah. And there's probably, there's nothing wrong with getting more information. But the mere fact that within Trinidad and Tobago, that we ourselves cannot gather that information, cannot gather the statistics, cannot put together these reports, and we rely solely on the United Nations. One, okay, fine, it probably gives more credibility, there's probably more transparency when compiling this report. Because guess what? In Trinidad and Tobago, we've allowed it to remain this way. You know, if we've let it remain this way.
But we always need to remember, in bigger countries, there is a federal level. We are the size of our country is the size of like a local or municipality or city in a country like in Europe or North America, right? Our country is very small. There will be another level of outsiders that kind of oversee what's going on, right? That helps them deal with their crime situation and corruption situation. So there's nothing wrong with a country as small as ours getting outside help. I think the issue is now the Minister of National Security, you don't admit that you're surprised. You don't admit that this is coming from the outside. You don't admit that this is news to you. As a leadership function, it does not foster confidence in your population that important information is news to you and you're receiving it almost at the same time we're receiving it. Then how are we supposed to take it seriously that you care about the government's ability to deal with crime and the government is taking crime seriously?
Well, because criminals are already in politics.
I mean, another example,
criminals are already in
just
politics.
to mention, because I'm sure one of the callers from a couple, about a month ago or so, European CPEP. So it's also dealing with the employment situation of the country. Right.
By the way, you know many people actually have had European CPAP workers actually doing their job on a daily basis. And what that allowed is that these European CPAP workers, I can't speak for every single one, but it's happened on multiple occasions where essentially that these workers scoped out the area, did whatever they had to do, finished their job, and then somehow they were part of criminal activity, breaking and entering.
It's incredible that they actually did work and not just showed up.
No, you see, you've got to do your work because you have to look as though you're doing something legitimate. And again, I can't speak for every single worker, and I wouldn't blanket the entire CPEP and URP force. But there are times when these people are doing their works, scoping out, and when they're finished, then they commit their crime. But putting that aside for a moment, you see, the law in Trinidad and Tobago, and I can't speak globally, but the law in Trinidad and Tobago in particular is a pain in the hop spread, right? You know what I mean by that. The law is a pain in the hop spread. And quite frankly, yes, picture that in your head for a second, right? Quite frankly, I can't understand for the life of me how the police could come out and state that we know, especially when an individual is shot and killed, he was a known gang member, he was known to the police, he was a dangerous man, he was a wanted individual, he has so many priors against him. They could come out and speak about an individual who's deceased like that, but they know that he's a gang member. It's illegal to be associated with a gang in Trinidad and Tobago, but you know he's a gang member. Then you know how many gangs there are in Trinidad and Tobago, and you have an estimate of how many gang members there are. Then you have this UN report. In order to publish this information and these statistics, both by the United Nations and the TTPS, you have to have intelligence and some level of information and evidence in order for you to come up with these numbers. So for the TTPS, I don't know how the TTPS is going to react to this report, but I wonder if they're going to go to the United Nations and ask for the statistics and for the evidence. But quite frankly, here in TNT, because the law is a pain in the hop spread, and you have the TTPS stating we need evidence. Listen, if you're associated with a gang, why can't you be arrested? Why can't these 95 to 102 gangs be infiltrated by the TTPS and broken down? Why can't these networks be broken down? Why can't these 12 to 1,300 gang members in TNT, why can't they be arrested and taken down?
I accept that intelligence is not evidence. I just need to know exactly how is it that we're so successful at gathering intelligence and so unsuccessful at gathering evidence.
We are successful at gathering
We have all the intelligence.
Nah.
Because they know everything. They know who all the drug lords are. They know who all the gang leaders are. They know who all the triggermen are. They always know. They always know.
Then you have
but they never have evidence to prosecute.
Then you have unintelligent people gathering intelligence in Trinidad and Tobago.
No, but we have the intelligence.
You have unintelligent people gathering the
We have the intelligence.
Listen.
What we don't have is somehow, we have the intelligence, but it never allows us, we never get evidence. Somehow, like I understand in one situation you could say that, but the fact of the matter is, it always seems to be that way. How is it that way all the time?
Listen, as we cut a break, if ignorance and arrogance was a sin, God is no longer a Trinity. Simple.
Just before we break, I want to ask, so you only have one hop spread? You don't have two hop spreads?
Sure, that is not the question you should really be asking.
I just need to know, you're missing something?
This is not a very, very good question.
Okay. You open up the door with that one. Let's take a break.
It's Diwali time again, and that means delicious vegetarian cuisine. Chief has all your herbs and spices for Diwali. Curry, jeera, saffron, garam masala and more for all your talkari. Cinnamon, clove, nutmeg, ginger and cardamom for those delectable sweets. Brown rice, dal and chana for those tasty delicacies. And of course, Chief baking powder for soft and light roti. This Diwali, remember, the chief reason is always taste.
With society plagued by a host of issues, with debates surrounding our urgent concerns falling short, with questions of our future not always being answered,
the conversation continues. Join me, Kemuel Pascal, as the voice of the youth comes to life. We will confront the controversial topics of today's world to gain answers that are key for a better tomorrow. One and One with me, Kemuel Pascal. Wednesdays at 10 a.m. Only on WESN, Content Capital.
Let your voice be heard. Call Madam Fix-It on WESN, the only place that effectively helps you with your woes. Having problems getting onto government agencies, water woes, NIS and pension problems, potholes, and much, much more. Call me, Madam Fix-It, every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, right here on WESN. Let me fix it for you.
My mom has been shopping here for the last 15 years. So coming here with her, now I have my own family.
The variety of items, cleanliness of the place, the spaciousness.
My favorite section is household.
My husband loves the hardware section and the auto section. My favorite would be stationery.
Price Club is the low price leading supermarket in TNT.
They are the best. I would recommend Price Club to anybody.
Diwali is in the air again, and Royal Castle reminds you to try its yummy veggie burger. The Royal Castle veggie burger is great on its own or in a combo with a side and a 16-ounce drink. And it's healthy too. A nutritious patty made with oats, lentils, chana, potatoes, and carrot. Inside a soft bun with tomatoes and lettuce. So for this season, try the Castle's tasty and healthy veggie burger. Shubh Diwali from Royal Castle.
Is it politics? What is it? Is it that nobody cares about sports?
The kind of support that sport used to get in the past is no longer here.
The thing is, taking a knee doesn't mean that that's the only thing you're doing on it.
Right.
Taking a knee along with other stuff.
Samantha, what are you looking forward to when you return home to Trinidad and Tobago after winning the title? Thank you very much for speaking it into existence.
Is there no pressure on Nicholas Ball?
It makes me more motivated to work hard and to go out there and rep the red, white and black.
Why are we sending a team to the Winter Olympics?
There are a number of Trinbagonians who are in the diaspora and have grown up in winter sport. It's an opportunity that the Trinidad and Tobago Olympic Committee will not close the door on.
I also believe in the players that we have. Once you can motivate the players, you can get the best out of them.
Welcome back to Talking Point here on WESN Content Capital as we continue the conversation. We have about 15 minutes left. Yesterday, during Talking Point, the Prime Minister, or the former Prime Minister...
Yeah. 45 days, 44 days.
45. Actually, that's the thing. You see, media in Trinidad and Tobago can't get it right? First of all, one outlet was saying 44 days, the other one saying 45. I heard state media saying 46. I don't know where state media got 46 from. But
I could see where 44, 45.
Right.
You know, you could debate between two numbers. I know about three.
I don't know where the state media got 46 days from. But anyway, whatever. We've gotten accustomed to that low level, sort of nonsense from state media sometimes. All right. But anyway, putting that aside for a moment, Liz Truss resigned yesterday, making her the shortest prime minister in the history of the United Kingdom, and which is rather interesting because she actually entered office following what was a big shambles by the Tory party, with Boris Johnson becoming prime minister. Now, when he was prime minister, basically lied, cheated, was deceitful. There was a revolution within the party. His own party basically pressured him, kicked him out. What's interesting now is that he has not ruled out the possibility of once more contesting for the post of leader of the Tory party to become prime minister. All right? And by the way, he could do so once he has the support of at least 100 members of the 300 bench party. So that's one way to look at it. If Boris Johnson becomes prime minister of the United Kingdom again, it's the Tory party, in my opinion, that is basically pulling apart England right now. And it would be shameful and pathetic if they put him back as Prime Minister.
Yeah, politically it would not be wise.
And Rishi Sunak didn't become Prime Minister, and we all know he's part of the Conservative Party, and I don't want to come on air and rant about it, but many of the Conservative, I think 67% of the Conservative Party said they were actually in favour of Rishi Sunak and Rishi Sunak's policies, but they still won't go and vote for him. They're going to vote for Liz Truss. And look at what has happened. So there is a possibility, actually, that right now they're looking at between Rishi Sunak and Boris Johnson, and knowing the Tory party, if it was to go to a vote, it will be Boris Johnson. That's just how the Tory party works. Putting that aside for a moment, Liz Truss faced a lot of pressure from within her party. She said she was determined to stay on. I think 2 or 3 days ago, she said she was determined to stay on as the Prime Minister and serve as Prime Minister and deliver the mandate of which she campaigned on, which the party campaigned on. And after a failed mini-budget, which essentially left the markets in chaos, and the Bank of England actually having to step in, following enormous pressure from her party and asking her former Chancellor to resign, well, she tendered her resignation yesterday. Again, not even taking questions from the media. But this ties back in to TNT. How? Because it's once more an example of what pressure can do to a leader when they realize that nonsense is taking place. When they realize that the public is absolutely fed up and frustrated. You see, the thing is in Trinidad and Tobago, we have loyalty. We do have loyalty, but it's that same loyalty which I can argue is no longer loyalty, but rather complete ignorance. And that level of loyalty and ignorance is what leads to the downfall of an entire political party, and rather the country. And part of the issue as well, don't think it's just the party for one moment, it's actually the citizens as well, their voting patterns, and their entire mindset and how they go about it. One caller from yesterday, whom I agree with entirely, said that loyalty in Trinidad and Tobago lies solely on race. That's one thing they said. The other caller from San Fernando yesterday said nobody in Trinidad and Tobago is held accountable. And you are absolutely right. If people in Trinidad and Tobago are actually held accountable, if they realize that the people of Trinidad and Tobago were frustrated and politicians were actually put in their place, would Faris Arawi still be a government minister? Would he still be part of the cabinet? would David Lee actually still be part of the opposition bench? At the same time, would Marley McDonald have been able to actually be... Boy, listen, Marley McDonald had the best employer in the entire world. The employer would fire her 3 times and still rehire her in different positions. That's the best employer in the entire world. And quite frankly, it shows, ladies and gentlemen, that in Trinidad and Tobago, anybody could do anything. It could be wrong. It could lead to the detriment of few or many. And you are probably still going to have your position in the morning. Because why? I think part of the problem is we have this myopic view of things. Trinidad and Tobago is small. Trinidad and Tobago is small. It's not like the Conservative Party, which has 300 members. No, it's not like that. It's not like British politics. We have millions of people voting every 5 years. No, we have 1.399 million people, right? And that's not the entire voting population, right? Putting that aside, here in TNT, what is it that we need in order to get this level of accountability and this level of action?
The problem is, when we look at Liz Truss, right, and there's a popular opinion in the paper, well, not a popular opinion, there's an opinion of one person in the paper that says Rowley must go. And we've heard that all the time, Rowley must go. That's the cry of the opposition and government critics. The problem is, Liz Truss, it was very clear why she stepped down. Because she had a policy that she tried to push forward with her chancellor, and it failed spectacularly, right? The markets responded immediately. It was very specific to her. Now, in the case of how the country is being run, it's not as though there are some things that you could say are specific to Rowley, and there are some things where now it's not just him. It's widespread throughout the cabinet that we have the perception that they are responsible for, not just him alone. And you could say the same thing about a lot of the opposition that were part of the People's Partnership Administration and Kamala Persad-Bissessa's administration. Obviously, there are members of the opposition who weren't there, so we can't attribute any accusations or claims against their party, have them bear responsibility for it. My point is, we want accountability, but we need to realize it's not just about one man in TNT. We can't just point the finger at one person and say, hey, that's the person there. They're the ones that are responsible. We need to fire them, and then everything will all of a sudden be magically better. No, accountability to actually get it in this country, it's going to be long and it's going to be hard. And it's going to be, rhetorically speaking, bloody. Because you're going to have to go through a lot. You're going to have to sift through a lot of mess. Not just with regards to our elected officials in Parliament, but also in various aspects of the public sector that supports the corruption, local government as well. All of these things have to be cleaned up. And to some extent, who is now going to have the responsibility to do it? Where do you even start? Because we have said it before, Keaton, the politicians, the people in charge, the head of the public service, etc., etc., etc. They don't actually fix some of these things because we suspect they like it so. It allows the leeway to get away with the various forms of corruption, big and small. So to clean it up, you are interfering with the illegal livelihood of a lot of people
who are going to be pleased about it.
Who are not going to be pleased about it. But more importantly, who is not just going to be responsible, but have the authority to get this ball rolling? Because, you know, will it be the TTPS? Will it be Parliament? Will it be the Cabinet? Is it constitutional reform?
So I hear you, right?
It takes a lot of work. And we need change, some serious change to get it done.
Let's use an example. 33 food cards were stolen from a Ministry of Social Development and Family Services employees drawer. What has that investigation led to? Because I would honestly say that I would lay some blame on the employee. If you know that those things are easily accessible, those things are supposed to be locked in with key, chain, bolt, everything. Because in Trinidad and Tobago, social So listen, I still have a problem with the amount of money we spend on social services here in TNT, and those are things that you need to be very stringent upon. Anybody in TNT could benefit from social services.
Yeah, we saw what happened with Gates
right?
when it was a free for
Right. So again, all these things, nobody was ever held accountable. But looking at it from the political point, for an example, you think if Prime Minister Dr. Keith Rowley was to face pressure from within the People's National Movement, that he would actually give in and resign?
Well, here's my problem with that. Right?
No, hold on. Before you say that, he wouldn't resign.
No, he won't.
What? You know what he will do?
It will take a lot. No, it will take a lot of pressure. He'll call a snap election.
No. If he faces pressure within his own political party, he is going to push out all those people who are challenging him and standing up against him. That is what Prime Minister Dr. Keith Rowley would do. Kamala Prasad-Bisesa did a similar thing a couple of years ago. When people stood up to Kamala Prasad-Bisesa, some of them realized that that's it. They're no longer going to be a part of it. She's going to get rid of them. Put it this way, the only reason why she's kept Rulal Monilal is because he's the most popular member of the opposition. He is the most popular member. You think Rulal Monilal and Kamala Prasad-Bisesa get along? No. Right? But she pushed out a lot of people, like Ramona Ramlial, for example. Suresh Ramachandran decided, you know what, I'm not going up again. Ford Khan decided, I'm not going up again. I don't want to be a part of this again. Right? She was pushing out people, and then she brought in people who are the ones probably running the show right now, but are not interfering with her. She could basically remain as opposition leader and have the free will, but that's what happens. They push people out.
The irony is, it's some of it is informal power, where she might not really have the actual ability to say, nah, you are just gone, right? And to me, I wonder, well, is it that a few were against her, or a majority were against her? If it's a majority of the party, a significant majority, not just 51%, so you could fight it down, then I think that might cause the situation to change. And I don't know if any political leader could then force out everybody that wants him gone, if it's the majority of his best membership. Best, I say that relatively speaking, right? But the thing is, no, my problem is, let's say we do, you know, he has enough against him, similar to Boris Johnson, and he goes. Well, what replaces the person that you want? Who replaces him? Right? Do we get a Liz Truss? Do we go from one disaster to another disaster? I mean, to some extent, Boris Johnson wasn't necessarily pushed out because of government policy. He was pushed out because, for what to me is silliness that he should not have done, and it's right to push him out for, but it's not like backbreaking things to the country.
Yeah, but Sean, okay, so if the PNM kicks out Dr. Keith Rowley, or the United National Congress kicks out Kamala Prasad-Bisesa, let's just use that as an example. For whatever reason...
No, but let's go with the government, because that's the Prime Minister right now.
So the issue in England right now is that Liz Truss, her approval rating by the public was negative.
No.
Hold on. Her approval rating was negative 70%. Why did she resign? Not only because she faced pressure within her own party, but she knew that if she called an election tomorrow, she wasn't going to win it. So let's say the government and cabinet comes together and says, listen, we no longer want to be under the leader of Dr. Keith Rowley, right? We think it's time to move on. Okay, Keith Rowley moves out. The PNM will then hold an internal election, and the PNM will then choose whom they want to be as political leader of the party. And guess what? As much as I have complained about the voting public having this myopic point of view, then you go to a general election and let the public decide who they want as leader. Do they want the PNM to remain with a new political leader, or do they want the opposition?
See, the interesting thing is, in this scenario, it's not as though the NACTA poll that recently was reported apparently states that the PNM is still viewed as a more viable leadership option than the UNC. So it's not as though he is in a situation like Liz Truss. Not only is it that he is not central to the scandals, but I don't think the approval rating is below that of the opposition.
Like I said, no, I know, but we were speaking hypothetically.
No.
Let's say that happens. Because keep in mind, who's ever elected as a new leader of the Conservative Party in the United Kingdom, an election must be called.
I would just like to point out before we go to break. Notice one of the first things you said there. You were talking about how people liked Rishi Sunak's policies, right? Liz Truss essentially was made, she basically had to resign because of her policies. Her policies were bad, right? Because we don't have policies, how are we judging these politicians? by popularity, by how they talk. I mean, they all talk horrible. They all communicate horribly, by the way. But like, how are we judging these people to say who is better or who is worse? That's all I have to say.
No, it's a very fair point. It's a very fair point, but that's precisely why we're judging them, because there is no policy, there is no vision, there is no clarity, there's no political ideology. And quite frankly, they were put in office, and we can judge them.
To do what?
Oh, hold on. We can judge them now based off of their actions and based off of their response, based off of what they've done.
Because Lystra says she had a mandate, she campaigned on reducing taxes. So I get why she tried to do what she tried to do, as foolish as it was. What is the actual mandate? To just improve things? That's not a mandate, that's a result.
Improvement is a result.
That's a result. That's not a mandate.
So then I ask, okay, if we have to go for news, but if we were to judge each minister individually and each opposition member individually, we ask them, what is your ideology? What is your mandate? What have you achieved? Do you think you still deserve to be in this position? That question is important. Do you think you still deserve to be in that position? I love the justification.
Very little substance of any technical nature.
And then we can judge them. Folks, let's break for news on the hour. When we return, we'll open up the phone lines this morning.
Here's your WESN News on the Hour. I am Denise Sinclair. Thanks for joining us. Here are the headlines. Red Cross cautions persons of fraudulent activity. Supermarkets Association on the alert. Man arrested, stolen chainsaw recovered. And internationally, giant fuel fire engulfed Mexico railway and homes. Now for the details. The Trinidad and Tobago Red Cross Society is cautioning members of the public to be wary of persons conducting fraudulent business on behalf of the society at supermarkets. TT Red Cross President Jill DeBoog says the matter is now in the hands of the TTPS.
It was individuals claiming to be a member of staff, a member affiliated with the Red Cross, and was in one case seeking donation, in another trying to acquire stocks, supplies from these supermarkets for their own self-gain.
Meanwhile, the Supermarkets Association says there exists a high level of scamming. Association President Rajiv Dipti says persons are asking for groceries and soliciting items on behalf of the Red Cross.
Within our network, flags have been raised in North and South Trinidad, and we have been alerted to the fact that this has been taking place where persons posing to be members of staff of the Red Cross have contacted within our network, and they would have alerted the Red Cross to this activity. And this is of great concern because next week is Diwali, we're heading into November and the Christmas period, and this level of criminal activity is something we're working very closely with the TTPS on, because it's something right now where we have that real fear in the business community of these criminal activities.
Officers of the Rio Claro police station recovered a stolen chainsaw and arrested a man on Wednesday after they received a report of a house break-in at Navit Village, Rio Claro. According to a police report, around 7:55 a.m. on Monday, a 49-year-old Rio Claro resident secured her home and went away. She returned around 3 p.m. and observed that a Stihl MS-250 chainsaw, other equipment including a welding plan, a quantity of jewelry and 2 laptops were missing. The missing items had an estimated value of $31,000. In international news now, a huge blaze has engulfed a train line and homes in Aguascalientes, central Mexico, after a fuel truck crash. Dramatic video of the fire went viral on social media, including aerial shots of black smoke blanketing a large area of the city. One video showed a cargo train hurtling through flames. Mexico's El Universal website says more than 1,500 people were evacuated. Some homes and cars were gutted by fire. There are no reports of deaths, but several people were taken to hospital. Police have detained the truck driver. Well, that was your news to the hour on WESN. I am Denise St. Clair. Thanks for watching.
That's all the big son. Bungie remember them days? Well, all right, Bungie might remember, but Ian Alvarez remember them. Don't forget the rest of the room, Ian. Forget the rest. Me and you talking alone here. Ian, remember the days when you went to the fridge with the hot bake in your hand to get blue band butter, but the blue band butter done. And they went for the yellow, the golden ray. They're shaking their head. No, listen, you don't know what it is when you bite a bake with golden ray, my dear. Once that bake hot with golden ray,
Saturday, November 5th, Shore Park, Tobago. It's Million Laughs Caribbean Comedy Commerce, the mega laugh festival to end the Tobago Carnival season, featuring Tobago's finest in folklore and musical entertainment, together with some of the Caribbean's top comedians: Larry Joseph, Daryl the Saint Mendoza, Dolores, Alan the Entertainer, Handsome Sun, Mako Media, and more. Get your ticket specials available on Island E-Tickets and various outlets nationwide, or visit the Million Laughs handles for more info. It's Comedy Commerce in Tobago, a wee kind of commerce.
Welcome back to the... God, boy, Master Control, you're pain in the hop spread this morning.
I was now about to say it.
All right?
I was now about to say it.
Yeah, pain in the hops. Anyway, folks.
Gosh, boy. 2 pains in the hop spread. Shucks.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Talking Point this morning. Thank you very much for staying with us, and thank you very much to Denise and Cliff for WSN's News on the Hour. All right, folks, let's open up the phone lines now. It's actually a long weekend. The Diwali holiday will be recognized and celebrated on Monday here in Trinidad and Tobago. And so Talking Point will resume next week, Tuesday. But let's open up the phone lines, call in and join us on the program. Share with us your opinion. It's an integral part of the program and of the conversation here. The numbers should be on your screen very shortly, hopefully. Master Control, right, there you go. Thank you very much. And, well, the phone lines are now open and will remain open until 9:25 a.m. I just, in the meantime, I just want to, I would have waited for the end of the program, but now is as good as a time as any. I want to wish not just the East Indian community and not just Hindus who are celebrating Diwali on Monday, but I want to wish all of Trinidad and Tobago, every single citizen, every single individual, every single member of society, a very Shubh Diwali, a very happy Diwali, and I really hope that the festivities in particular, but the message that is Diwali and why we celebrate Diwali, I really hope that that becomes part of society in terms of, I hope there is peace. I hope there is positivity over negativity. I hope there is this triumphant conquering over evil. Because quite frankly, here in TNT, we all need that.
We all need some hope.
Yeah.
We have a calling line from San Fernando. Good morning, caller. You're on here.
Good morning, gentlemen.
Good morning.
You know, you all also there about this morning. You know, let me first start with our society. Our society seems to be one that presently, seems to be one that is inherently corrupt. And I make that statement very guardedly, but it seems to be inherently corrupt. When you look across the board, when you look in institutions, when you see all that is happening, one of the biggest issues I have right now with the level of criminality in this country is the fact that it seems as if there is a murder for hire going on in Trinidad and Tobago.
Yeah.
The amount of, apart from the body gang related stuff, there seems to be some sort of murder for hire, and that is so disturbing. And there is no, I have not seen that particular issue being addressed at the national security level in the public, so to speak, by national security and the police. I have not seen them coming out and making statements and trying to deal with it, but it seems that way. That is the first issue. My second issue is, okay, you talk about the British issue with Liz Truss and and let me say this quickly about that. You know, the Conservative Party, in my opinion, seems to be one that was not ready to have a non-white prime minister.
Yep.
And I'll say this for this reason. When it came down, when that race came down to the last three, which was Rishi Sunak, Liz Truss, and Penny Mohant. You know, after Penny dropped out and it was between Rishi and Liz Truss, the same day that happened, the British media started an onslaught on Rishi Sunak, which they did not do before that.
Yes. Yes.
There was an onslaught on that man. And it was so disturbing to me to see it. And I am saying, but this is purely a question of they don't want this man because of how he looks.
No, Kola, you're absolutely right. And you know what? I think you phrased it brilliantly, because that was the situation. The Tory party in the United Kingdom, and I apologize to you, Kola, because we have to take another call.
No problem.
All right, but I just want to tell you, you made an excellent point, and that same to you, should be well to you and yours. That is precisely the reason why Rishi Sunak did not become the leader of the Conservative Party. Because, again, I point out to the fact that British media reported that a majority of Tory MPs supported Sunak's policies, but said they would not vote for him. Why? Because they were not ready. The Conservative Party was not ready for a non-white Prime Minister. We have a caller on the line with us from Tarragona. Good morning, caller.
Hi, morning.
Good morning.
Yeah, how are you all going?
We're all right. We're doing well for now.
Right. I told you about Tarragona, right?
Yes, sir.
No, this ideology word you're talking about all the time. I try to put my hand on where we're really trying to see. The UNC party, the UNC party just go by the constitution. They don't try to break the laws because that's democracy. They always stick to the constitution and never stray from it. The PNM party are worried and them water down bills to get their own way and get these bills passed. So I don't know that's where we're going at.
No, that's not what I mean.
I don't know. I'm just trying to put my hand on it.
An ideology.
All right, but as far as...
Go ahead.
Right now I hear that talk all about the place. They want new blood. The only time I hear about new blood and new party is when you hear the PNM not performing. When Pandey was there, you want the country good, Kamla want the country good. PNM people watching out PNM destroying this country. And they can't handle it. Instead of saying we vote to the UNC, they're calling for a new political party. That is unheard of, man. Face facts.
All right, caller, thank you very much. You know what, I'll respond to you after the caller because I'm still trying to digest everything that you stated there. We have a caller on the line with us from Dowdy. Good morning, caller.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Gentlemen, I just want to wish people of Trinidad and Tobago happy Diwali. And I pray that it's safe and free from all homicides and other crimes, accidents and other things like that. I really pray to God that after the holiday that we were free from all incidents.
Yes,
gentlemen, I want to take a spin. I want to look at crime.
Sure.
And as a former police officer, I know that there are many, many retirees who are willing, capable, and competent of assisting the crime situation in Trinidad and Tobago. You know, including myself. The batch I'm from is the batch that Stephen Williams was part of, and we are called the 79ers. there are many officers who would have graduated from Dundee College of Criminal Justice in New York that I know who are actually doing nothing right now. And I'm saying all this to let you know that crime is not just for the Minister of National Security and also the police service and other arms of the security services. But we as a people, we are willing, civil society organizations, state-based organizations, and we have reached a point of how you would call it, but we have reached the worst point with respect to crime in the country. And I've not heard a word or outreach to the other groups that can actually assist with the whole crime situation, and it is affecting the entire country. What does it take to have a consultation on crime? How much does it actually cost? What does it cost for the Minister of National Security to be going around from community to community and reaching out to the people? I mean, it's really at a pandemic stage, you know, and gentlemen, I am really passionate about this thing and crime in our country. So I want to say that if the authorities are listening, please, there are many groups outside here who are willing to assist with the crime situation in our country. Reach out to us and just let us know and we will assist. Thank you, and you all have a nice one. Enjoy your weekend and be safe.
Same to you, caller. Thank you very much. And you're right. So we've had a consultation on almost every single thing in Trinidad and Tobago except crime. Because again, why? Again, people need to open up their eyes. It is this way because they want it to be this way. Yes, I think we have a call in line with us from Tobago. Good morning, caller.
Yes, Tobago.
Hello, good morning.
You're on the air live.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning, sir.
My problem with crime is that every time the police find a gun, one sachet, they arresting somebody. However, when they get a big amount that they were taking out and using the intelligence, they arresting nobody.
Yeah.
And that is a problem for me.
It's a problem for me too,
because
caller.
they're arresting little people.
Yes.
And they can't arrest no big body.
Yes.
Even though they have all this intelligence and they have been acting on this intelligence and taking out these guns. They bring them in the third one.
Thank you very much, caller, for your
Thank you,
contribution.
caller.
I have a problem with, I never know what happens with the guns afterwards. They say they destroyed or they kept in evidence until so. Yeah, you're right. Nobody's ever arrested. Nobody's ever detained.
And we've been saying that since last year when the show started, and we were seeing some big hauls in the early 2021 of guns. Multiple big hauls of guns in the first half of that year. No arrest.
None.
And notice, I don't know, maybe it's me, but it seems as though the big gun hauls kind of dried up a little bit.
No, recently we had a few big gun holes and marijuana holes, you know. But
always have marijuana like water.
Oh, by the way, a man was given 2 years for actually stealing 39 avocados. Well done, actually, because theft is still a crime. But it's amazing how, you know, when you steal avocados, you get caught. Anything else?
Okay.
Call on the line with us from Chagonas. Good morning, caller.
Good morning, gentlemen.
Good morning.
Your first caller made 2 points. I totally disagree with the first one. I totally agree with the second one. The first one, he said we was an inherently corrupt society. That isn't so. We was never a corrupt society. Our politicians made it so. After Johnny O'Hara and them sabotage it, and the problem in Trinidad with corruption is we enforce no laws. We have people who to enforce the laws, they don't do it. And I won't go through that whole scenario again. You talk again about gangs. You cannot, because you know somebody is a member of gang, charge him. You have to have evidence that will stand up in front of the court. We tried your method and arrested a certain people, and the government lost every case. Right? Everybody know who is the gang people in the enterprise. One of them was on your station. One of them there talking about harassment, and he is squatting, right, in areas which is not supposed to be squatted upon. I am going into all the reasons for squatting, and the government do not enforce the laws. And this last point, with the UK, it's not that they have policy and we don't have policy. We have policy. Everything a government does that is not expressly stated in law is policy. Every time government go to change the law, it's because of their policy that to implement it, they need legal authority. If it do not need legal authority, then you just have a cabinet policy, which is sent back by a cabinet note to the public service. So we have policy. The difference with England, you ever hear about the whips?
Yeah, okay,
Right.
Professor, I hear you, but thanks very much for your
I'll
contribution.
respond because...
Have a good one.
Thank you.
Thank you, Professor. It's not about policy, it's about ideology. We didn't say that the government doesn't have policy, because yes, they enact it. It's the political ideologies that say this party stands for this, that party stands for that.
Professor, I will respond to you. I have two callers to respond to. The one from Tagrico and this caller.
But we have a caller from St. James.
Good morning, caller. Hello, good morning.
Hello, good morning.
Morning.
Good morning.
Gentlemen, you know, let me preface my statement one week. The politicians in Trinidad, they use things conveniently. They always say that the system we have here is fashioned after the Westminster system, the British system. Now, I observed 2 days ago that one of the ministers made a phone call, a simple phone call, on her phone to discuss government business. And she resigned on account of that. We have a minister here who used the phone that we paying for to run up the bill, and she's still in cabinet. You know, Basil Pandey really said that, you know, the politicians here do not resign because it is our culture not to resign.
Yeah.
Any comment?
Sorry?
Sorry, caller?
All right, caller, thank you very much for your
caller.
contribution. Sorry if we lost you there. We have about 3 minutes left to take your phone calls, but I want to respond first of all to the professor. Professor, with all due respect to you, I think you're living a bit in the past. Trinidad and Tobago has become an inherently corrupt society, so I disagree with your comments.
Well,
and hold on.
You're not actually disagreeing there.
Hold on. I am disagreeing because he said Trinidad and Tobago is not an inherently corrupt society. He said he disagreed with the caller. I'm saying that it is. You made the example of Johnny O'Halloran, and yes, okay, that was the first instance or the first big instance of corruption for an independent Trinidad and Tobago. But since then, time after time, government after government, administration after administration, it has allowed itself to be that way. So we have become an inherently corrupt.
Is it in our origins that we are corrupt?
In our origin, I don't know.
Because
honestly,
that's what he's saying. He's
quite
saying
frankly,
it's not inherent to us. We became that way. So that's why I said you're not actually disagreeing when you said we became that way.
Inherently, I am not saying that, okay, we inherited from the British, you know. I'm saying it, we took it, from the past, we never got rid of it. So administration after administration, government after government, we have had that culture and that norm.
I guess you could say in our existence we've been corrupt for more years
go
and we've
look
not
up
been
the
corrupt.
definition of inherently. That is what I'm arguing about.
Okay.
Right? That is what I'm arguing about. So, Professor, you're saying that how I commented when you're not on the line. I'm sorry, we had another caller, so I have to comment after the phone call.
We do have a caller right now.
Yeah, we have a caller on the line with us. Good morning, caller.
Good
morning, sir.
I just called to wish the Trinidad and Tobago a happy Diwali, and by extension, to everybody in the world as well. And I hope that Mother Rashmi shines her light brightly across the world to help us out for all this negativity we are seeing, and that everybody can enjoy a good and peaceful Diwali without any sort of killing and things and everything happening. I just want to note as well that it's not only Mr. Al-Rawi have to go, the other 5 of them have to go as well. I was saying Mr. Al-Rawi along all the time, but 5 of them just as bad, and people should take note of these things, what is happening. Can it be breaking the law and getting away with it? will never be a good country. And it's not good for the young people coming up to watch all these things happening. They are not going to, they're going to follow the wrong way of going about life. So gentlemen, you be safe, have a good weekend, and take care of yourselves.
Thank you very much, caller. And probably the perfect way to end the calling segment.
Right, I just want to respond to Professor too, with the situation about gangs and known gang members. Let me just take my colleagues' comments to the next step. Okay, so they know who the gang members are, get evidence to prosecute it. How is it that we could never get evidence? How many gang members, they're so known, right? But how many gang members get arrested and prosecuted for being in a gang when we have anti-gang legislation?
All right, so caller from Tagrikwa, I will respond to you after. I'm sorry I didn't get the opportunity. We have to take a quick break. When we return, I will respond. We'll be right back after this.
AM Prime on WESN, the only place from 6 to 7:30 a.m. where you can get the most analytical and thorough interviews and regional reports.
The Barbados Labour Party, led by the Prime Minister Mia Amor-Motley, once again able to achieve a clean sweep in yesterday's general election.
I think a lot of people have underestimated the power of Tobago nationalism.
If the government is afraid to say it, I, Martin George, I am saying it this morning on your show, Andy, there will be no carnival before Ash Wednesday.
Grab a cup of coffee and start your day right watching AM Prime with Andy Johnson weekdays from 6 a.m. only on your content capital, WESN.
Perfection doesn't happen by chance. Like an artist, the cook selects the main ingredient, one that is worthy of a proud cultural tradition. Trusted to enhance your creations with its richness and versatility. To create a cooking masterpiece, the secret is simple. The brand we know, the brand we trust, the brand our ancestors have been using for generations.
There is only one pure cow brand ghee. Look for the marks of authenticity.
Diwali time again. Come to Prem Singh's Puja Bhavan for all your Diwali essentials. Get your clay diyas, cotton wicks, floating wicks, beautifully decorated imported diyas. And now in stock, our long-lasting, easy lighting wax diyas. Fasting? We have frozen vegetarian meals. Exciting Indian spices and grocery items. Decorated mithai boxes, prasad bags, freshly ground elaichi powder, and paper sohari leaves. And don't forget our popular tasty mouth-watering mithai. We have simple Diwali Puja guides on CD with a Puja handout, and our helpful staff will assist you with all the required ingredients to perform your Diwali Puja. Get great deals on lantern decorations, electric diya string lights, and Happy Diwali decorations. Visit us at the corner of Watt Street, Kirep, or at St. Ives Street, Chaguanas, opposite the Charleville taxi stand, or call 663-6084. Prem Singh's Puja Bhavan. It's a family tradition, serving the nation and Dharma. Lakshmi Mata's divine blessings to all. For your convenience, both branches are open on Sundays until Diwali.
All right, as we wrap up the program, I want to thank all our callers this morning for their contribution to the program. Caller from Tagrikwa. I would disagree with you in stating that the only time you want to hear about a fresh blood and new party is when the PNM is basically in a state of things falling apart. Mm-hmm. And I wouldn't even use the example of the United National Congress, because quite frankly, if it is that we are to move on, you could have fresh blood within the People's National Movement, and you could have fresh blood within the United National Congress. You could have a different vision, different leader, different ideology, and it could probably work out. The reason why they are calling for fresh blood and fresh people in a new political form is because these two parties are holding on to old horses, and you can no longer hold on to old horses if you're trying to drive a cart forward. That doesn't make sense. You see, arguably, caller from Tagrikwa, if you look at Kamala Prasad-Bisesa, would you really make an argument for her to be Prime Minister right now? It's the same way I can say, would you really make an argument for Keith Christopher Rowley to be Prime Minister? Well, in those two elites, I can't say it's only because of the PNM people want fresh new blood.
But the reasoning is different. Kamala lost 2 general elections, right? Around the world, that usually means your political career
2 general elections, and I think 2 local governments as well.
Right, so I mean, but the 2 general elections, she was directly going up. She was the incumbent, first of all, right? So as much, I mean, once you lose a general election, generally speaking, in a lot of first world nations, you're out. But she got another chance, fine. And she lost that again. So she lost her second chance. I think one of the things is, yes, let's not worry about too much about what how the rest of the country views us. We've only been in the air for about 1.5 to 2 years now, so we've only been able to comment with a PNM government and a UNC opposition. And we're saying we need to see change on both parties, not just one, right? So we're equal opportunity critics, but the situation is not equal, so we're not going to say the same exact thing to the same exact equal measure on both parties because they're not in the same positions. And that's just the way it is.
And quite frankly, if you think that Dr. Keith Rowley is the way to go, or Kamala Pasabi-Sassi is the way to go, that's fine. That's your opinion. You're entitled to have that opinion. Nothing is wrong with that. But at the same time, whilst you hold that opinion, I hope that we are not ignorant to the reality or to the facts of what is happening and what has happened.
I would just like to point out what developmental plans from any of the last, but including the People's Partnership and Basil Pandey administration, how much development did we get that the society is now paying off the dividends? You could maybe argue PRCO, maybe, right? But where is the, I'm not talking about paved roads, that's not development, that's maintenance. That's increase in infrastructure. I'm talking about new developments to expand the economy, to expand the scope of the economy. What have we seen from all of the administrations in the last 20 years? Nada.
Anyway, folks, as we wrap things up, thank you very much to Sean Michael Small. I'm Keith Shaw, wishing Trinidad and Tobago a very happy Diwali. I hope it's a safe one. I hope it's a happy one. Spend this time with your family and your loved ones. Reflect positivity over negativity, darkness. Well, we hope that all the light, the spirituality within each and every single one of us, well, we hope that conquers darkness. Keep safe, keep well. Things are good. Sean Michael Small.
Give them some hope first, Keaton.
Today is a good day to have a great Friday, not Friday, Friday, and a great weekend ahead.
And always remember, folks, it's right in our face. Together we aspire. Together we achieve.
We're hearing Master Control telling us, get off the air now, it's time. Bye-bye, folks. We'll see you on Tuesday.
WESN